schools is unjust and dangerous. The pending proposal to close 54 Chicago public schools places an inequitable burden on African American and Latino communities. It will improve neither the school it closes nor the schools which receive students. Substantial research shows that closing schools and moving students increases the dropout rate and incident of street violence.
Okay.
In defending the closings, CPS has made many promises. First, transparency in the process. For that reason, for proposed closings and plans for buildings and students would be clear and public. Yet the reasons for closing schools are constantly shifting. The input of community members is being ignored. I'm going off my prepared remarks that I have for you. At each of the final hearings, there's a binder given as to the reason for the closure. I believe that if cross-examination was happened of the CPS individuals that were testifying on behalf of the closing, we would find that they would be either very shallow in terms of their structure of why the CPS is closing certain schools. Second, students will not have to travel more than 1/2 mile. However, students would be required to travel much more than that distance in many cases, without bus service in my ward and other wards. Third, students would go to better schools than the ones that they are leaving. The CREATE Coalition has demonstrated, and I believe we will hear from them later, that the majority will go to schools that are either comparable or inferior to the current schools. Students were promised a safe passage to and from new schools. Where are the new officers on the streets to protect these children? Who will protect the parents as they go to and from the schools crossing gang boundaries? Where are the buses for the children who will be exposed to new dangers on their trips to and from schools? Again, going away from the remarks that I submitted to you, Congressman, I have to use Crane as an example. We created Operation Safe Passage by working with the community, with the police, with pastors that were committed from the heart and not from the pocketbook. And at the end of the day, and that was because of the result of Reuben Ivy being killed outside of Crane in March of 08. The effort that was made there ended up with 10 police cars at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day and a helicopter flying overhead. So the amount of resources have to be taken into consideration too. Finally, CPS would supposedly save a lot of money by closing these schools. However, there is no proof from CPS how much will be saved by the burgeoning cost of closing 54 schools. Over the past several months, I've attended more than a dozen public hearings concerning school closings. I've been startled by what families have had to put up with, standing in long lines in the cold, babies in arms, waiting to testify in defense of their neighborhood schools. I can't remember ever seeing a public outcry extended to every corner of our city, such as we've seen over these past weeks. Tens of thousands of Chicagoans have attended these hearings. I am heartened by the determination of parents and teachers to defend and improve their schools. But I do believe the hearings are a charade. The decisions have already been made. Neither the mayor nor Dr. Byrd-Bennett attended those hearings, and I've heard of only one instance where a member of the mayor's hand-picked Board of Education attended a hearing. I wish that those decision makers had been taken the trouble to see and hear and feel the fire for themselves. I know my time is running short, but I will skip some of the remarks that are in there already, but most of the targeted schools are almost fully utilized and are in good physical condition and have received improvements funded by taxpayers. Why would we make these investments only to close these buildings? This raises suspicion in the minds of many that CPS has undisclosed plans for these buildings, perhaps involving privately managed charter schools. Whatever closing these schools is unfounded. And the schools on these lists are disproportionately schools serving African American and Latino Latino children. And yes, some of these schools have big problems, but they are not problems that you can solve by turning them over to private and essentially unaccountable charter operators. That solves nothing. If the rationale for closing a school that is underutilized, then why open a charter school in the same area? Yet despite claims of population loss, CPS has approved another 60 new charter schools to open over the next 4 years. Nearly 35 members of the City Council, myself included, have moved to place a moratorium on the authority of CPS to grant any more charters. The proposed schools will destabilize neighborhoods most in need of stable, family-oriented institutions. Neighborhood schools, which are in need of gyms, libraries, and the computer labs to be open at night. Therefore, the closing plan of CPS should be abandoned. I join my colleagues in the City Council and the Illinois Legislature in calling for a 1-year moratorium on all school closings while serious study is done. And CPS is able to explain concretely the specific reasons for the proposed closings of any school, the financial costs, and the means and manner by which the closing of the school will improve the future of our students. Thank you, Congressman.